8. I can't find it, but it's in there. Would you offer this to the governor? Would you offer to me what you offer to the governor? Consider this. If you were to entertain your governor, how would you present yourself? Even if you don't like your governor, you would show him honor. If it fell upon you to have that be the case, you would bestow a certain amount of honor. That's what the Lord was saying here. Where is mine honor? You would offer to your own disliked governor something better than you offer to me, your creator and your preserver. Chapter 2. In fact, 1:10 refers to shutting the doors. The prophet said it'd be better if you shut the doors of the temple than to continue offering these defiled sacrifices. Who among you will shut the door? Well, none among them would shut the door, but eventually God shut the door. The temple was destroyed. Third question is in 2:14. We should read 13 first. And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, with crying, inasmuch as he regardeth not the offering any more, or receiveth it with good will at your hand. Yet ye say, wherefore? In other words, ye say, why will God not accept our offering when we offer it with tears and with weeping and with crying? The answer is really found in the last half of this second chapter. The reason is because they had corrupted, in verse 8, the covenant of Levi. Verse 9, therefore have I also made you contemptible. Verse 10, have we not all one Father? Hath not God created us? He goes on, why do we deal treacherously every man against his brother by profaning the covenant of our fathers? Right. Verse 11, at the end, they were indicted because they had married the daughter of a strange god. And if you continue on through that text, you will understand that the reason God would not hear them is because they had dishonored him by breaking the covenant that he had with their fathers. They had divorced their Jewish wives and married wives of the heathen. So the Lord says, where is my honor? That's why I don't hear your prayers. That's why I pay no attention to your tears and to your weeping. The next question, 3:7. Even from the days of your fathers ye have gone away from mine ordinances and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith the Lord. But ye say, wherein shall we return? Well, the answer is provided simple. Resume obeying the ordinances that I have given you. And there he speaks in particular, as he proceeds, of the fact that they had robbed God in their tithes and offerings. But that was simply one example of them disobeying the ordinances of God. And the last question we'll look at is found in Malachi 3:13. Your words have been stout against me, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, what have we spoken so much against thee? And then he tells them, ye have said it is vain to serve God. What profit is it that we have kept his ordinances, that we have walked mournfully before the Lord? They looked about and considered the fact that in some cases evildoers were better off than the righteous. So they accused God of that. That's what he's saying. Yet ye say, what have we spoken so much against thee? You have spoken against God in accusing him of being unjust. But God is not unjust. In fact, at the end of the day, if you go through the remainder of the book, which we won't do, he speaks of a day of judgment upon the wicked, but a day of restoration for the righteous. So God is a just God. But the question that I, again, would like to focus in on is, where is mine honor? Where is mine honor? Imagine the Lord asking that question. That shows a lot about the character of God right there. The fact that he would even take time to expend energy, if that were possible, of God toward these children of Israel who had rebelled against him. Where is mine honor? God is worthy of our honor for the same reasons he was worthy of Israel's honor. God has called us as he called Jacob. He has preserved us. He has loved us with an everlasting love. So God, we know, is worthy of honor. We'll turn to Psalm 89:7. Other words, by the way, for honor are respect, esteem. We could say reverence. There's another word for fear, where he says, if I be master, where is my fear? Where is my reverence? If I be father, where is mine honor? Where is my respect? Why do you not esteem me? Psalm 89:7 says, God is greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints, and to be had in reverence of all them that are about him. We are to revere God. We are to honor him. It's hard for me not to hearken back often to that first meeting I was in Roseburg, Oregon, March 17th, 1974. I left that first meeting with no doubt that these people had a great deal of reverence for the God they claimed to serve. I came into the meeting as an unchurched individual, 21 years old, and sat there with my sister and observed, as people do, I guess. I observed when the musicians came out, and before they sat in their chairs on the platform, they knelt. In all honesty, I don't know that I'd ever seen anyone kneel and pray before in my life. Well, then the ministers came out after a bit, and they knelt. They held the meeting in a really simple but practical and effective manner. Then at the end of the service, the whole church knelt. They had what they called altars. I'd never heard of an altar before, but there they were, those benches in front of the pulpit, where just out of almost habit, people seem to go forward and pray. A good habit, by the way. A good habit to teach your children if you're a parent. Teach them to love that altar. Teach them that that's a place they can go to find God. When our children were growing up, I was very much conscious of the fact that I wanted them to love that altar. So when they knelt at that altar, they got a hug from Dad before they left that altar. Probably got several hugs along the way. Well, they didn't. They got hugs at home. But I wanted, if they loved any place in that church, I wanted them to love the place of prayer. Even children who reject God will never forget that they felt love at that altar. We want to love other people's, other parents' children as well. You need to be discriminating as far as who you hug and all that, but you can certainly speak a kind word and encourage them, because we want them to come back. Even those that maybe seem to misbehave a bit at times. Well, don't choose the altar to scold them. You let their parents scold them. You just love them. You have the easy job. But it was a place of reverence. Just the way the meeting was conducted. It was very, very appealing. In fact, it was very appealing in terms of the whole presentation of the gospel. We honor God by the way we approach God. We should approach Him in a manner that is respectful and decent. I mentioned here the other day that I'd gone a decade or more, I suppose, without having entered into a church. But I remember as a boy, when we went to church a time or two or three, it sticks in my mind at least, that we got, in my words, as far as a child, we got slicked up. Even I, being reared in a home that didn't have the light of the gospel, knew what my Sunday best ought to be. In fact, when after I got saved and didn't know where to go to church, I looked in the telephone book, seeking out a place to go, and just the first church under the heading Christian there in Corvallis, Oregon, I attended that church, but before I went to that church, I put on the best clothes that I had, which really weren't very good. I didn't own a tie or a suit or a sports jacket, but I put on my best. Well, what's wrong with approaching God with your best? What would you do for the governor, who you don't even like? So how should we approach God? We should approach Him in a reverent manner rather than in a casual manner. We should worship Him in a manner that is conducive to worship. This isn't a pep rally or a ball game. We are approaching the God who created us, the God who loved us, and we want to honor Him by so approaching Him. One of the hallmarks of this work is to teach our people the value of praying down the Spirit rather than working up the Spirit. You pray down the right spirit. You work up the wrong spirit. We're not ashamed of being careful. We don't want to be reckless. We want to seek God with all of our heart and pray that He will inhabit our presence, or rather that we can inhabit His presence. Honor Him. Just the whole picture of this organization we found very, very appealing. The idea that wholesome, conservative, modest living was promoted and encouraged. What's wrong with that? The world looks for that. You find a troubled family out there somewhere. Where do they want to put their troubled child? Into an atmosphere where that child is controlled, where that child is encouraged. And no one here, by the way, is controlled by any man. We want to be controlled by God. We want to be controlled by our desire to honor God. We don't impose too much on anything. In fact, on anyone, rather. Our signs to some of our churches, the Roseburg Church at least, used to say, "Come as you are." The idea being people could come as they are, but not leave as they were. Matthew 6:9. Matthew 6:9. Just a very simple phrase here: hallowed be thy name. We honor God by honoring His name. We don't use the name of the Lord flippantly, casually, or carelessly. When we name that precious name, we name it with reverence and respect. Why, some of the